everybody, and welcome to the qualifying notebook for the 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix. Well, it's a busy paddock, and let's go and have a look at the person on pole, Charles Leclerc, and he is on pole for Ferrari. That is Carlos Sainz, he's third, and Max Verstappen is second, and we have had quite a session here. We have seen that Ferrari have delivered on the promise that they showed in testing, and what has happened to Max Verstappen, the much fancied person for pole position here this weekend, has been beaten, not by much, but by a tenth or two, by Charles Leclerc. So it's Ferrari on pole, Max Verstappen second, and Carlos Sainz, his teammate to the right of us, in third position. Just there he is, Carlos Sainz going over there. And we will tell you about everybody's qualifying in a second and see who we can run into in this paddock, because there are so many people around. It really is. I mean, definitely the end of the sort of COVID restrictions of having a closed paddock, and there are lots of people about. But first of all, we have to say that all you everybody who's watched the notebook before, we have some new notebook friends, and they are ESPN in the USA, which doesn't get much bigger than this. So hello and welcome to everybody watching this on ESPN in the USA. And if you are watching it like many people watch ESPN in the USA in a sports bar on one of the sort of many screens around, there won't be much sound. So I'll just say, so the sound isn't up on many sports bar, is it, Pete, in watching ESPN. I'm not sure what channel, ESPN channel we're on. I would imagine it's at least ESPN 12, or maybe if we're really lucky, it's ESPN 8, the Ocho, although Pete seems to think it's ESPN 3. So anyway, I thought for all our new American viewers, I'd do a few sort of notebook FAQs. So while I do this, you can go and have a look at the pole sitter if you want, or some scenes of Formula One, Pete. So a first frequently asked question of the notebook is, what is this show? And well, it's a good question. I ask myself sometimes. Effectively, it's a rambling monologue. So once we start, we don't stop. So it's half an hour. We have a break in the middle of it, and once I start talking, whatever happens, we just carry on. So that means that anything could happen in the next half hour. We just don't know. And that has a sort of certain danger to it, a sort of appeal, which tends to get me and Pete interested. But it also means that if you do see an edit in it, edit in the notebook, apart from the half hour break, then there's been some sort of terrible misadventure, or someone has said something awful, or I've said something awful that I need to edit out. So if there is an edit in the middle of it, then see if you can spot it, because there shouldn't be. But yeah, it's all done in one hit. And the point about the notebook is that it's impossible throughout coverage of qualifying or the race to follow the fortunes of every single driver in Formula One. It's not possible to follow the 20 stories of everybody up and down the grid. So what do? Well, you go for me to half an hour to tell you what happened in absolutely everybody's qualifying and race session. So that is the point of the notebook. Second frequently asked question, who is this guy? Well, hello, my name's Ted, short for Theodore. Surname's Kravitz. It's my mother's maiden name, and she's American. She's from Union City, New Jersey. So, hey, anyone from Union City, New Jersey in the house? Yay, good. And I'm a reporter for Sky Sports. I've been around a bit, and well, you know, that's pretty much it. I just go up and down and gain all the information and try and bring you the sort of inside line on everything that's happening. So not only on track and what happened in qualifying in the race, but also what might be happening behind the scenes and in the background, and talking to people as well. Third frequently asked question is, why is he wearing short pants? Well, the truth is that I dress appropriately for the conditions. And as you can see from most mechanics and people around, it is hot in the desert in Bahrain, and so we tend to wear shorts appropriate, clothes appropriate to the conditions. So when it's cold, I will wear trousers, but you can be rest assured that I'll always be wearing pants. I mean, sorry, for my European audience, I'll always be wearing pants, even though I'm not wearing long pants. Next question is, who is this Pete he's talking about? Well, that's Pete, our cameraman. We have several cameramen. There's either Pete, who's got ginger hair and has a beard, so we call him Pete the Pirate, or Pete the Ginger Pirate, or young Henry VIII. Or we have, you never see him, but you'll see him. He's as part of the Notebook, as much a part of the Notebook as well, I am, or anybody else is. But you'll learn Pete's little character, and he's like a little terrier who goes off on a lead. I let him go, and he goes off for a little wander while I read my notes with my increasingly failing eyesight. But there'll be other cameramen, I'm sure. There'll be Lee the Marine, who we call him that because he used to be a Marine. Kieran, who's just Kieran, and JD, who's got big, strong arms. So yeah, they're the cameramen. No camera women yet, but maybe that'll change one day, Pete. You never know. Open to all of that. And finally, on the FAQs, do we have to listen to this guy all the time, or do we get to hear from the drivers? Well, the answer to both of those questions is yes. Yes, you do have to listen to me most of the time, but yes, we also get to hear from the drivers. So stay tuned for all of that. So hopefully that's the Notebook FAQs asked and answered. But let's get on with it, shall we? Because we have Ferrari on pole position, and so let's go through them as I promised we would. We go through all of them. The teams, and we have Charles Leclerc on pole position, and as you say, Ferrari, as I said, Ferrari are well and truly back on it. They were first and second in qualifying 1, then they were second and third in qualifying 2, and they were back to first and third. Sorry, they were back to first and second after the first runs in Q3. But Charles Leclerc had some messy old laps early on and sort of admitted this on the team radio afterwards, even if we didn't overtly see it on the coverage. But he got it together and got his final attempt absolutely perfect, and it was enough for pole position. As for Carlos Sainz, P3, and it was a good recovery for Carlos Sainz. Here we go, Pete, he's just around the other side. Do you not want to get in the way of all the cameramen? Well, they can. Carlos Sainz, there we go. Oh, he's gone the other way. Ah, he sees foxed us. There he is. He's around there. Good recovery from Carlos Sainz. This really started on Friday when he had a troubled practice day. Felt there was something wrong with the setup of the car. Couldn't really get a feeling for the car the way he wanted to. Said, look, guys, there's something wrong here, but worked hard to recover that. And really, the fact that he's only a tenth or two off his teammate Charles Leclerc reflects that. After a poor Friday, only a tenth to find, and will find it. But he said after Friday, I've been having to think about the car as I've been going round, and that's meant that he was only third rather than second immediately behind, which let in Max Verstappen. So that's the story of Ferrari. Max Verstappen, who is second, and he is 0.123, so a tenth. Well, 1/2/3 of a second off Charles Leclerc, and perhaps setting up for a year-long battle between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc for the championship. Yes, I know, we only had the first qualifying session. It's a bit early to talk about that, but hey. It was, I don't know, I can sense disappointment. I really can. I think Red Bull came here thinking they were going to get pole position. They thought maybe their car was a better race car than a qualifying car. Okay, but that would probably see them through to being good in qualifying as well. So I think they're a bit surprised, and I think Max Verstappen is a bit disappointed. As I say, only 10th off Charles Leclerc, and struggled a bit with the balance. Maybe it was the wind, but he hinted that also the car had a bit more of a race setup on it, that while it might not be perfect for qualifying in terms of getting the tyres hot straight away and keeping them there, what he has got on his Red Bull is actually a car, his Red Bull RB18, is a car that looks after its tyres, especially its rear tyres in the race, which is what you need from there. So I think in the back of Verstappen, the world champion's mind might be that if he's not on pole, then he thinks he's got a very, very good chance of winning the race. I don't know. Can you see that, Pete, from his... Oh, he's moved again. Can you see that from his body language? Can you see that from his eyes? Does he look annoyed to you? Yes, he does. Can you see the gold boots from where you are? Not really. But, yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow. I think Ferrari know that they're going to have a hard job holding off, potentially, Max Verstappen for the win. But, hey, that's all the fun of finding out. But as for how Red Bull have managed to develop quite a good car. I think the interesting thing is that Adrian Newey, their chief designer, is well and truly engaged. He's very engaged with what's going on at the moment. Just watching him in the garage, over testing, engaging with the young aerodynamicists. Yes, he doesn't look happy, does he? Although, to be honest, he normally looks that when he's got pole position, but he's smiling for a photo. That's nice. Oh, careful, Pete. Newey is completely involved, completely engaged, and Newey has a wealth of experience from way back when in the late 70s and early 80s, even just studying at sort of university level, doing studies of ground effect, what you need from ground effect cars, something that Mercedes haven't managed to figure out, but Red Bull absolutely have. But do they look happy enough? I guess they do. So what else? Honda, yes, if you're wondering what the engine is, it is a Red Bull Honda, but we're not allowed to call it that. So we have to call it a Red Bull a Red Bull RBPT, Red Bull Powertrains. Look, it's a Honda, okay? All right? It's a Honda. Honda are pretty, still paying for a bit of it. Honda are servicing it. It's a Honda in the back of that car. But you won't see it on the graphic because we're meant to call it a Red Bull There we go. Catchy, eh? Mercedes. Now, Lewis Hamilton was 5th today, George Russell 9th. I'll get on to what on earth was going on with George Russell and why he's only 9th in a second. But it looks like they have made a mistake. And when you reflect that Mercedes wrote off pretty much development of the 2021 car to concentrate on the 2022 car, it's a valid question, now that they're not on pole position or even on the front 2 rows, to ask how could Mercedes have got this year's car so wrong? I'll just leave that hanging there for a little bit. I mean, they're an ace team. You know, clearly they have the championships to support that, but it's just an open question. How could they have got it so wrong? Are you right, my love? You need a hand with it? You okay? Yeah, cool. Yeah, it was the brush at the front. No, it fouls on the thing. You need to lift it up. And we're left to sort of, you know, can I make a cleaning up pun? They're left to Lewis Hamilton to clean up the mess of Mercedes designers managing to, you know, not get this car right and have this terrible porpoising, this bouncing. And this is the first day, apparently, so Toto Wolff said, that Mercedes could run their car without it being completely compromised by this bouncing effect, this porpoising effect, where the ground effect means that the car gets sucked to the ground and then comes up a bit and then gets down again and up a bit and down again and up a bit and down again. And that's happening not only on the straights but in the corners as well, has been stopping the Mercedes from developing in any kind of meaningful way. It's been crippling really to their progress this year. And if earlier on was the first time that Mercedes could run their car without terrible porpoising, that at least is a sign for the future. Both Hamilton and Russell were safely through into Q3, but no grip, said Russell, on the used tyres in his first run in Q3, so he was pretty slow from that. But Lewis Hamilton, brilliant as ever, pulled it out of the bag, 0.03 of a second off Sergio Perez, and said on the radio, that is a great effort. So just behind Sergio Perez in 5th. That's a great effort. If we keep it up, we will improve, said Lewis Hamilton. George Russell, only 9th, and out-qualified by Valtteri Bottas, whose drive he's got for this year, pushed too hard on the outlap and cooked his tyres. So, yeah, that was why George Russell was 9th. And I'm wondering whether we call him Mr. Saturday anymore. And all right, one swallow doesn't make a summer, or one Duff qualifying performance with overcooked tyres doesn't make a summer. But I kind of liked, what do you think, Pete? If you don't know, we used to call, well, I came up with the name Mr. Saturday for George Russell because he was so good on Saturdays in qualifying when he was racing for Williams. He would always sort of outperform the car and do amazing things on Saturdays. I just feel it was a bit of a Williams kind of nickname. I'm not sure we should call him Mr. Saturday now he's in Mercedes. I don't know why, so I might drop that. I didn't call him Mr. Saturday in the coverage today, so I'm not going to call him. What do you think, Pete? Should we drop it? Let's drop it. I'm not sure. I'm not going to call him Mr. Saturday anymore. So, yeah, for all those people who've knocked off my idea and made merch out of it and making money, sorry, but we're not calling him Mr. Saturday anymore. So, yeah, we'll have to think of something else. All right, what else can they do? Oh, yes, we're not yet calling. You might have noticed two things for Lewis Hamilton coming into this race. First of all, he says he's going to be much more aggressive in his dealings with Max Verstappen and anybody else, I suppose, that extends to on track. Well, I look forward to that. And secondly, you might have heard, there's Adrian Newey, secondly, you might have heard that Am I supposed to know the gentleman in the hat? Nope. Not ringing any bells. Maybe he's just a friend of Adrian Newey's. Right, sorry. You might have heard that he wants to take his mother's maiden name in some form and call himself Lewis Labalastier Hamilton, or Lewis Hamilton Labalastier. So I did joke with my colleagues in the production office, what kind of idiot would want to take his mother's maiden name as a professional? And they just gave me a funny look, but of course I did. So yes, I can recommend it to Lewis. It's a nice thing if you want to continue that line of Labalastiers or Kravitzes through. But that's what. But we're not yet to call him. It's something he might do in a year or so's time. But we're not to call him Lewis Labalastier Hamilton or Lewis Hamilton Labalastier yet. But it might be in the future. Right. Let's do McLaren, and then we will take a break. As you can see, some of the happy people around Ferrari, Pete, and it's a very disappointing qualifying for McLaren. After we thought the first test they were going to be one of the top 4 in Formula 1, they're not even the top 5 or even potentially the top 6, because Ricciardo is out in Q1 and Lando is out in Q2. So paying the price of a poor test, said Lando Norris. Lando was through with P8 in Q1, but only P13 in Q2, behind Mick Schumacher in the Haas. What? Best he could have done, only 100th of a second, as I say, behind Mick Schumacher. And but yeah, that's Lando P13, best he could have done. But as for welcome back to the qualifying notebook, Ted's qualifying notebook for the 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix. And if you're still watching us on ESPN3, God bless you. You made it past 17 minutes, only another 10 to go. Yeah, for anyone else who wasn't watching the beginning, we're joined by our friends from America on ESPN, so welcome to them, as long as everybody else who watches us on Sky Deutschland and anywhere else in the world. Here we go. The story of today is all about Ferrari, who are on pole position. There is the silhouette of Charles Leclerc, the pole man, talking to our colleagues at Sky Italia. Oh, he's off. Right, that was quick. So they've got a nice little banquette seat going. Well, we can talk about Alpine and see who else we can find in the paddock. And not bad today from Fernando Alonso. We had no idea how fast his car was going in to the weekend. Esteban Ocon had a side pod explode, so I think he's having to run the old side pods. But Fernando Alonso was great today. Ocon only 11th. 8th for Fernando Alonso, ahead of a Mercedes. Brilliant as ever. The car has some pace into qualifying 3, and he beat George Russell and Mercedes by a 10th of a second. Well done, Fernando. But Ocon disappointed, Esteban Ocon disappointed. P11, 700ths of a second behind Valtteri Bottas, but out in Q2. So not great, but at least we know that this Alpine, which is the name for Renault, if you're new to us, it's basically the Renault team under the brand name they have for their fancy racy cars is okay. Right, we have a sort of a better intent, or a bivouac, with some sort of sweet delights. Have you found them, Pete? You always find the sweet delights. You haven't found them? They're over here. Right. Oh, we have a bit of baklava, and I'm not sure if you meant to dip it into the jam. Are you? Dip it into the sort of strawberry. Oh, there we go. Oh, there is a spoon. Right, you're right. Yeah, but look, I've done a combination, Pete. Combination. There we go. Oh, yeah. Very sweet. Very sweet. All right, Chief. You tried it? Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's nice, isn't it? Nice. They're showing the F2 on this screen, and this screen is a big violation. it's a 16:09 picture. Maybe you shouldn't show the F2, Pete. I'm not sure about that. Spoiler. But they've squeezed the 16:9 picture into a 4:3 big screen. And it's doing my nut with a aspect ratio violation. Where are the remaining two? Why haven't they put the bits? We need some more bits in here. I guess you can't have the bits here because you'll be obscuring the lovely band here. We got any live sax, everybody? We got the sounding great, sounding fantastic. Yeah, great. Sorry. Oh, she is, isn't it? She's brilliant. Great. Right. We know the name? Do we know the name of the band, Pete? Seasons. Or normally what these bands are called, aren't they? Dimples. Right. Aston Martin. Yes, they're next. No, they're not. AlphaTauri. There's the back of their garage. And Pierre Gasly, P10 today. Yuki Tsunoda, only P16. And Gasly, AlphaTauri to the left. Yep, there we go. Gasly, the car was much better going into qualifying than it had been in free practice 3. Then he was into Q3, which was good because he had struggled, but stayed P10, 10th behind George Russell. He said there was less grip and front locking, so he couldn't improve on his final attempt. But he stays P10. It's not such a bad start for Pierre Gasly. Yuki Tsunoda really felt the loss of not being able to go into compete in practice in free practice 3 because of a hydraulic leak, but he was just out of Q1 by 0.03 of a second, so unlucky for him. Pierre Gasly is running a tribute, solidarity, we stand with Ukraine, helmet, no war, all of that. So well done to Pierre Gasly, showing his allegiances and that he's thinking of everybody and their terrible plight in Ukraine at the moment after the Russian invasion. Right, that's Aston Martin now. Nico Hülkenberg standing in for the COVID positive Sebastian Vettel. So Seb, if you're watching, or you won't be, but get well soon. Hope to see you in Saudi Arabia, even though I won't be there. But yeah, he should be back hopefully in a few days. But very disappointing. Only 19th for Lance Stroll. So disappointing for Lance Stroll. 0.2 of a second behind Nico Hülkenberg. And it's weird because Lance has been quicker than that through the weekend. So it must have been something about the tyres or it's a quirk of the setup, because Lance has been much better, quicker than 19th throughout the weekend. And good lap from Hülkenberg, but out in Q1 as well, only by 0.05 of a second, and he was in the 32.7 club. Alex Albon was ahead of that with a 32.726, Yuki Tsunoda with a 32.750, and then Hülkenberg with a 32.777. So Hülkenberg was unlucky to be at the back of that 32.7 club, and only 17th as he stands in for Sebastian Vettel. Williams, good return to Formula One for, sorry, I still got some of the back club up. Can you tell? Back of my teeth. Good return to Formula One as the disco that is now the Williams, back of Williams garage, shall be known. And I feel like, ordering a little bit of something and sort of asking, what are you, hello? All right, yes, it's loud in here, isn't it, Pete? Yeah. What? No, I can't hear you. So doing weird. Anyway, is it sort of weird? It's so bright, so bright. Sorry. Alex Albon 14th, Nicholas Latifi 20th. Through into Q2, Alex Albon, but could go no further than 14th. Thank the team on the radio. Thanks a lot, guys. He said that was a really good start to the season and his return to Formula One qualifying. Disappointing session for Nicholas Latifi, though. 0.9 of a second behind Alex Albon. Just struggled to get the tyres in the sweet spot. Couldn't do much more than that. Really weird off day for Nicholas Latifi. He is better than that. We will do Alfa Romeo Sauber and Valtteri Bottas 6th. Zhou Guanyu 15th. Valtteri Bottas, the star of qualifying, I think. Bottas 6th in a Sauber. Mega. Well done, Valtteri. That's absolutely great. And getting to know this smaller team, much smaller team than he... oh, hello. Guanyu Zhou's underpants, Pete. Okay. Zhou Guanyu, sorry. Much smaller team than he left at Mercedes, but really getting to know it. And 7/10 of a second ahead of the man who took his seat, George Russell in the Williams. So really what Alfa Romeo Sauber needed, and he can get them some points tomorrow, which is really, really, really what they need. As for Zhou Guanyu, his DRS didn't open correctly on his final run, which lost him a few tenths of a second. He said it was opening a couple of seconds late, which was suboptimal, but a good first qualifying for the first full-time Chinese driver in F1. So, xie, well done to Zhou Guanyu. I will be learning more and more Chinese words and phrases apart from ni hao and xie, which is the only ones I know at the moment, so I can drop them into bits where I talk about Zhou Guanyu. Good. And we have Mick Schumacher. A great day for Haas F1. Oh, have we done Williams? Yes, we have. Finally, a great day for Haas F1 because they have delivered on the promise that we thought with this innovative car they might have this year. They're not fifth quickest, which we thought they might be, but they're not far off because Kevin Magnussen was 7th today, Mick Schumacher 12th, and woohoo! Team USA! Team USA! Woo! Did you know about this, everybody watching on ESPN3? The American team, the only American team in Formula One. You won't find many Americans actually working in the team. It's run by this mad guy called Günther Steinos from Austria. Gene Haas is the owner. He's very definitely American, but that's kind of it. But anyway, there's an American flag on the side of the car. So, yo, Team USA. Yeah, it's great for Kevin Magnussen. He actually got into Q3, P7, had a hydraulic problem, which meant that he couldn't actually try for his final run and see if he could better P7. They tried to fix it, but couldn't fix it completely. But Mick Schumacher, son of Michael, of course, if you're watching us now for the first time in the US, son of Michael Schumacher, the great 7 times world champion. Mick Schumacher was P12 today, very solid, and that is his career best qualifying performance, Mick Schumacher, P12, given that the car he drove last year's Haas, was awful. But this year, it looks like it's really good. So well done to Mick Schumacher. And that is it. If you're still watching us on ESPN3, and even if you're not, if you're watching us on... No, let's rephrase that. If you're watching us on Sky F1, Indy qualifying from Texas is next. But otherwise, for everybody, please join us tomorrow for the Bahrain Grand Prix. And if you have survived this long watching us on ESPN3, then welcome to the Notebook. I trust you found it suitably weird and odd. And join us tomorrow when we'll do it all again, reflecting the Bahrain Grand Prix. Good. From me, from Pete, and all of us here, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you for the Bahrain Grand Prix tomorrow. Bye-bye.